Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is another managerial update, another stream where we talk about the latest news regarding Everton's managerial situation, Everton's vacant manager position, and this sort of manager merry-go-round that we're currently all a part of. And a lot of us want to get off, but we can't get off yet because Everton haven't announced the manager yet, Everton haven't chosen a manager yet, and for now we're still spinning round and round and round in what seems like endless days of the same sorts of information just regarding different names. Yesterday, of course, it was former Newcastle and Liverpool boss Rafa Benitez who was heavily linked with taking over at Everton Football Club. Some journalists, including Jim White, who we know has got a personal relationship with Everton majority shareholder Farhad Moshiri. You had Paul Joyce who'd come out, who again is quite a reliable source. The Telegraph, The Guardian, Sky Sports, a lot of sources coming out saying that talks had taken place between Everton and Rafa Benitez yesterday. Those talks were extremely positive. Rafa Benitez believed he would contract offer from Everton, a formal contract offer, within the next couple of days or so, and he is on the brink of agreeing a deal to become the new Everton manager, according to Jim White. I think the Telegraph said he was on the verge of becoming the new Everton manager as well, and a lot of other sources and journalists running with the story that Rafa Benitez is now, number one target for Farhad Moshiri and potentially going to become the new Everton manager. And that obviously caused a lot of sort of uproar on social media. A lot of Evertonians not so happy with that. We sat down yesterday and we done a little video, 20-30 minute video talking about the Rafa Benitez rumours, keeping everybody up to date, and then briefly giving my thoughts and opinions on them as well. What I would say is, again, and before I say this, Rafa Benitez could become the new Everton manager, and we might be sitting here later on today or tomorrow or on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever it may be, and Rafa Benitez might have been announced, and what I'm about to say might be completely wrong, but what I would say is that I remember on Friday night having a look on Twitter, and all of a sudden it had gone from Friday afternoon where we all sat here and said not much is going on, we haven't really got much of an update, we don't know who it's going to be, and it seems like the club haven't made that decision. The Athletic posted an article on Friday evening saying that a decision hasn't been made, and then all of a sudden on Friday night it was like it's Nuno, all of the, Paul Joyce and, like I said, Sky Sports, talked about a lot of other journalists coming out and saying, Nuno Espirito Santo was close to becoming the new Everton manager. Talks were positive over the last couple of days, and Nuno was expecting a formal contract offer from Everton within the next 24-48 hours or so. And then obviously we went into Saturday, didn't hear much. We went into Sunday, didn't hear much. We went into Monday, and we were all thinking, hang on, what's going on here with the Nuno stuff? Because apparently, talks are positive. He's on the brink of becoming the new Everton manager, and he was expecting a contract offer. And then the more and more that, the days went on, I think we got into Tuesday, Wednesday, and it was sort of, the rumour started to come out that talks with Nuno Espirito Santo had cooled a little bit. And whether that was because of, I don't know, some issues with his backroom staff or whatever it was, the news was coming out that incest had cooled, and that it wasn't as far down the line as maybe we all thought or were made to believe it was on Friday. And like I said, we got very much of the same yesterday. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, we were sat here yesterday morning. Rafa Benitez had been rumoured over the last couple of days when the rumours were coming out that the interest in Nuno Espirito Santo cooled down. There was a lot of journalists and a lot of rumours coming about that Rafa Benitez is now back in the frame to potentially become the new Everton manager, and that frustrated a lot of Evertonians, and that caused a lot of uproar. And then obviously, like I said, yesterday we went from literally no update and nothing much to say to Rafa Benitez is on the brink of becoming the new Everton manager within the space of about 5 minutes. So again, what I would say is that, if Friday has taught us anything, it's to take pretty much everything we're reading at the moment with a massive pinch of salt. And I'm not saying that Rafa Benitez won't become the new Everton manager, and I'm not saying that those journalists are right in what they're saying. I believe they're only putting out the information that they've been given, and when somebody like Jim White comes out and says something, it's sort of, again, I'm not going to say it's 100% and it's absolute truth, but I would assume that the things that Jim White are being told are probably coming from Farhad Moshiri himself, because we know there's a historical relationship there between Farhad Moshiri and Jim White. So whereas with other journalists, you might be thinking, oh, they're just getting fed information left, right and centre from different people. When Jim White comes out and says something about the Everton managerial position, it's hard to not sit there and go, he's probably being told that directly by Farhad Moshiri. Now, listen, Everton might be doing what they done on Friday, or what seems like they done on Friday, with certain journalists and publications, and just throwing the names out there and you know, allowing fans to latch onto them and seeing what the reaction is, i.e. throwing it out there on Friday that Nuno Espirito Santo talks were positive and he's on the brink of becoming the next Everton manager, seeing what the reaction would be, when in reality those talks weren't as far down the line, or that situation wasn't as far down the line as some journalists seem to believe it was. Potentially the same with the Rafa Benitez stuff last night. Maybe the Rafa Benitez situation isn't as far down the line as it seemed to be believed. You know, Paul Joyce coming out saying Rafa Benitez is believed to be... Rafa Benitez believes he will be offered a formal contract over the next day or so from Everton Football Club. So he hasn't even been offered a formal contract yet. So as far as from what I can read from the outside, and again, I don't know anything that nobody else knows. I've not got any inside information. I don't know anything that you know, nobody else is going to have heard or known. And the reason for that is because, and the reason for all of this speculation and all of this confusion and questions left, right and centre, is because Everton haven't come out and basically just said, look, this is the process, this is what we're doing. We're not going to name any specific names, but this is the process of how we go about recruiting a manager. We've got a list of 3 or 4 names on the list, and we're currently going through them. I said it a number of times before, silence breeds speculation and silence breeds doubt, and when you've got a silence from a club, you are always going to have that silence filled with bits and bobs of information or misinformation that create a story which mightn't be true whatsoever. Everton might be at that stage now where they've had talks with Rafa Benitez. Those talks have been very positive. They've been impressed with Rafa Benitez's interview. We know, you know, the managers have to present, but, you know, do a formal presentation at the interview. So Everton might have just been very impressed with Rafa Benitez's interview and Rafa Benitez's presentation, and they may be in a situation now where they say, yeah, we've been impressed by that, thank you very much, really appreciate that, we'll get back to you, but, you know, you done well there. And Rafa Benitez might have gone back to his agent or gone back to his friends in the media, i.e. Paul Joyce, the Telegraph, the Guardian, and said, yeah, went dead well, and I think I'm about to get it. I think they're going to offer me a contract in the next couple of hours or so. Whereas Everton might be sat in the boardroom going, yeah, good man, you know, good interview that he's you know, he presented that well. He's got this, he's got that, he's got the other, but he's also going to cause a massive uproar with fans, so maybe we'll just park it for a second and we'll look at some other candidates as well. We don't know. The reality of the situation is, until Rafa Benitez is at Finch Farm with an Everton top on or an Everton scarf around his neck, which I know that image will you know, create a lot of problems for a lot of Evertonians for certain reasons, and I get that, but until he's there with the scarf around his neck and with the contract signed, then we don't really know where Everton are up to. It's so easy to say, well, Everton have fully made the decision. Farhad Moshiri's fully made this decision. He wants Rafa Benitez. Farhad Moshiri might want Rafa Benitez. He might have been impressed with Rafa Benitez, but he might have also been impressed with Nuno Espirito Santo. He might be impressed with another manager who we might interview in the next coming days, or another manager who we interviewed last week. So it's so easy to read these bits and bobs of information and go, yeah, it's definitely going to be Rafa Benitez. If you were to ask me now who I think it will be, obviously I'm going to say Rafa Benitez, because of the stuff that was that come out last night and the stuff that's come out over the last sort of 24 hours or so. But if you were to ask me last Friday, when all of the Nuno stuff was coming out, Camp, do you think Rafa Benitez will become the next Everton manager? I'd say, what are you talking about? No, by all accounts, it looks like it's going to be Nuno Espirito Santo, because he's been rumoured a lot over the last couple of days or so, and from a lot of journalists, he's on the brink of becoming the new Everton manager. So these situations can change, and that's what I'm trying to say, is they can change, and don't take them as absolute 100% until we see Rafa Benitez announced by Everton Football Club, or we see Rafa Benitez at Finch Farm with an Everton scarf on, or we see some solid news that Farhad Moshiri and the whole Everton board are sold on Rafa Benitez, and he's going to be offered the contract, because the whole Everton board were happy with Nuno Espirito Santo's interview on Friday. They were happy with the talks, they were happy with how things were progressing, and Nuno might have gone to his people in the media and gone, yeah, I'm dead happy about this. because ultimately I think I'm going to get the job because they were happy with me interview. Everton might be interviewing every manager and going, yeah, well done there, you done dead well, brilliant, yeah, good presentation, like the way you do it, you could be the right man for the job. And those managers might be going, oh my god, I'm going to be the right man for I think I'm going to get this job, phoning the mates up going, do you know what, I'm confident here, I reckon I'm going to get it, they've told me that I'm on the brink, or they've told me that they're dead impressed with me. But if Everton are saying that to every single manager they've interviewed, then obviously that's not the case, because only one of those names is going to become the new Everton manager. So if Nuno Espirito Santo walked out of that interview, wherever it was last week, and said and thought, yeah, that they've told me my presentation was brilliant, they like what I bring, they like what I do, I'm confident I'm going to get it, I'm going to tell all my mates in the media that I'm going to get it, and Rafa Benitez has done the same, one of those managers is not going to become the next Everton manager. Potentially both of those managers aren't going to become the next Everton manager. Who knows what's going to happen? I'd put money on one of them being it, but that means that one of them, certainly at least one of them, is not going to become the next Everton manager, which would mean that everything we read last night or everything we read on Friday night would have to be taken with a massive pinch of salt. And look, again, I understand that the Rafa Benitez stuff, I get it because of his Liverpool connections, and for me it's not just about the Liverpool connection. I said it on the video yesterday, the fact that he managed Liverpool 15 years ago is pretty irrelevant to me. The words that he said about Everton hurt more than the Liverpool connection. For example, if it was Brendan Rodgers we were being linked with, I wouldn't be too bothered about the Liverpool connection, because from my recollection he didn't really say anything derogatory about Everton during his time at Liverpool. And forgetting Liverpool as a whole, because Liverpool Football Club have absolutely nothing to do with this situation. Forgetting them as a whole, Brendan Rodgers is at the moment a very successful manager. Brendan Rodgers at the moment is coming off the back of a season where he's just won an FA Cup and he's just finished 5th with Leicester, challenging for the Champions League again. So forget the connection with a certain other club and forget where he's managed before. If it was Brendan Rodgers, he's not said anything derogatory about Everton previously, I don't believe, and at the moment he's a successful manager. He's just won a trophy last season. He's just taken his team, he's progressed his team massively. He's been brilliant for Leicester, Brendan Rodgers, absolutely brilliant for Leicester. He's progressed them brilliantly, he's progressed the players, he's improved players, and he's taken that club from having a really good season, winning the league, and then sort of dipping down a little bit and becoming, again, or was it just a one-season wonder? Are they just a mid-table team now? To really propelling them into, challenging for Champions League qualification every single year, getting them to winning trophies, which, again, before the Premier League, what was the last trophy Leicester won in sort of, out of, not including, championships or promotions, etc. So Brendan Rodgers is a manager at the top of his game who, if we were rumoured to be, if this was Brendan Rodgers on the brink of becoming a next Everton manager, I would be quite pleased with that, to be honest with you. I would have no issue with it whatsoever. Regardless of the Liverpool connection, I'd have very little issue with it because of how successful he is at the moment and because of his track record of improving players, playing decent football, challenging for Europe. The Rafa Benitez Liverpool connection thing is, I think, because of some of the comments he's made, and you're seeing it all over social media. You only have to go on Twitter or Instagram. I don't even have Facebook, but I assume Facebook's the same, and you're seeing that quote continuously coming up about talking about Everton as a small club and what he said years ago. And I know he's come out since then. I think he come out 18 months ago before Carlo Ancelotti got the job, when he was rumoured to be interested in taking over then, and said, I think it was on Monday Night Football, that he regrets saying what he said and he didn't mean it. He meant Everton were a small team and he didn't mean to say this and he didn't mean to say that. That's all well and good, you can go back on your word all you want, but that comment is still there. And Jason says Rafa's comment was 14 years ago. I get it, and I get people grow up, and I get managers grow up, and I get situations change, and I get it. And if Rafa Benitez, like I said, was 100% the right man for the job, played lovely football, had a track record in the last 5, 6, 7 years of improving players, bringing players through, winning trophies, I'd say, yeah, I can maybe forget those comments and forget that previous connection with another club because of how good this man is going to be for Everton Football Club. But I'm just not sold on the idea that he's the best man for the job, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The last major honorary one was in Italy, and it was about, 7 or 8 years ago, something like that. The last major run he won in England was with Chelsea, won a European Cup with Chelsea in 2011, 2012, something like that. Yes, he got promoted with Newcastle, but let's be honest, that's not where Everton's aspirations lie. Being promoted from the Championship, hopefully we're never relegated into the Championship. But it's also, again, his previous record, went over to China, lost more games than he won over there, and again, I know some people might say, oh, you can't hold that against him, Cam, but that's his last job. You know, a saying's always said about boxers, slightly off topic, but sort of feeds into the same sort of situation and the same sort of narrative. You ask any boxer in the world, or any boxing sort of fan, or, you know, any ex-boxer, they'll always say a boxer is only as good as his last fight. And that is a saying that has been passed through that sport for years and years and years, decades and decades and decades. A boxer is only as good as his last fight. Now, is that not the same? Pardon me, by the way, got a little bit of a tickly throat. Is that not the same in football management? Is a manager not only as good as his last job, or does that not count? Because look, there's no doubting that Rafa Benitez is an absolute. His CV, the things that he's won in his career, cannot be taken for granted. He's won European Cups, he's won domestic trophies in England, he's won domestic trophies in Italy and Spain, I believe, as well. So there's no doubting that Rafa Benitez and his CV are, again, absolutely fantastic. And when he retires, you look at the things that Rafa Benitez has won and go, he was a great manager. But a lot of those trophies, a lot of that success has come 10, 15 years ago, not in the last 5 or 6 years. And that's what I'm saying about Rafa Benitez, is that it's not like we're looking at a manager who has got a connection with a certain other club, yeah, but is still, at the top of his game, is still winning things in the top 5 leagues in Europe, is still competing and turning teams into, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he done all right with Newcastle. Got them relegated, got them promoted again, stabilised them. Newcastle fans love him, absolutely love him. I had some Newcastle fans in the comments and on Twitter saying, you don't know what you've got. If he comes in, he'd be a brilliant manager. Don't know why you're unhappy. Which is quite ironic, because if a Sunderland manager comes and manage them, ironically with Steve Bruce, they all want him out, despite the fact that Steve Bruce has arguably done a better job than Rafa Benitez. But like I said, it's the fact that he's not at that level now. He's not where he was 10, 15 years ago. And people had the same issues with Carlo Ancelotti. People watched Carlo Ancelotti's football, which was very negative, very defensive, very similar to Rafa Benitez. And a lot of the criticism to Carlo Ancelotti was, well, yeah, he was a boss manager and he won loads of trophies, but that was years and years ago, not recently. It's the same with Rafa Benitez. Now, don't get me wrong, Rafa Benitez could come in and be absolutely brilliant for Everton. One thing I would say, positive-wise for Rafa Benitez, I'm not going to go too much into the positives and negatives, because if I'm going to be honest with you all, if I'm really going to be 100% honest with you all, I don't really want Rafa Benitez as Everton manager. He's not my first choice, and I just think it's the wrong appointment for the simple fact of the matter is I think that he's a manager that's coming in with already a massive target on his back. I said it yesterday in the video. He's already coming in with a stick to beat him with. And if we lose 2 games on the bounce at the start of the season, there's already that ready-made excuse to not get behind Rafa Benitez. If we lose a Merseyside derby at Anfield and you've got them lot screaming his name or shouting his name or having a laugh and we become sort of a laughing stock, there's already a ready-made excuse to go, no, enough is enough, get him out the door, without actually really looking at what he's doing as a footballing manager. And also, I'm not particularly a big fan of bringing him in, because I think he just causes more diversity within the fan base. Everton, this was a big opportunity for Everton to go out and bring in a manager, for me anyway, who was going to galvanise the club, who was going to get the club together, working on the, singing off of the same hymn sheet I said yesterday, working in the same direction, all with the same goals and the same plan and the same understanding that there's going to be the same stumbling blocks for everybody. We needed a manager that was going to come in and really unite the whole club, because at the moment, I don't feel united with the board whatsoever. I've looked at it over the last couple of days and I found myself a number of times going, if it's this man, if it's that man, Farhad Moshiri hasn't got a clue. Why is he making footballing decisions? Why isn't it Marcel Brands? Why isn't he allowing Marcel Brands to do his job? Why is he putting his nose in? I don't feel united with the board. I definitely don't feel united with this Everton squad, because more often than not last season they turned up and couldn't give a shit about the shirt they were wearing. I wouldn't dream of putting this shirt on, putting this badge on and walking onto Goodison Park and walking around. I would leave Goodison Park absolutely having left everything on the pitch, blood, sweat and tears, if I got the opportunity to play at Goodison Park, if I got the opportunity to play for Everton Football Club, I'd leave everything on that pitch. But a lot of those players don't, and therefore I don't feel united with the players. I don't feel united with the board. A lot of fans aren't going to feel united with the manager if it is to be Rafa Benitez. So we needed a manager that was going to come in and unite the club, and this appointment for me will cause more diversity than what we've currently got, and that's just exactly what we don't need. That's the complete opposite as to what we don't need. Now, one thing I would say not in Benitez's defence, but one thing I would say about Rafa Benitez is notoriously over the years, he's proven that he can go into clubs where fans aren't necessarily happy with bringing him in. He can go into clubs where there's a little bit of animosity. Chelsea, I remember his first game in charge of Chelsea, Manchester City draw, I believe it was, very defensive game, and Rafa Benitez got booed on to Stamford Bridge when he was announced as Chelsea manager. Now, they hadn't given him a chance, they hadn't given him an opportunity, they hadn't seen what he can bring. They just purely looked at the fact that he'd managed Liverpool before and had a big rivalry with Chelsea before, and they booed him on the pitch, and they continued to boo him and give him, stick, and it was very toxic. It was a very toxic atmosphere at Stamford Bridge for the entirety of his time there, and he took that all on his shoulders. He got all of that negativity, he got all of that pressure, and he ended up winning a European Cup with Chelsea, and it got to the point where at the end of his time at Chelsea, a lot of their fans, okay, they might have said, we want you to leave because we still don't like you, but I think there was banners saying thanks for your time, thanks for what you've done, thanks for winning the European Cup. And it's if buts and maybes, isn't it? It's if buts and maybes. If Carlo Ancelotti, sorry, I've just read the comment there by Corney. What's happening, Corney? I haven't spoke for a while. Hope you're doing well, mate. He says Carlo united us, but we still finished 12th and 10th. West Ham fans didn't want Moyes. Meanwhile, he saved them from relegation, then finished 6th. Make your own conclusion. Spot on. Absolutely spot on, mate. That's it. And like I said, I'm not telling anybody how to feel, by the way. I'm not saying that this will this will cause diversity in the whole fan base. Rafa Benitez won't unite Everton fans. Maybe he will. This is just my personal opinion as to how I feel at the moment. And like I said, it is all if, buts and maybes. If Rafa Benitez come in as Everton manager and we're sitting here this time next season and Everton have finished in the Champions League and won an FA Cup, we're probably all gonna sit here and go, actually, do you know what? Although he said a few things a few years ago, and although he managed the same club a few years ago, he's brought us success, so can we really complain? But there's also the flip side as to that. If Rafa Benitez doesn't get a tune out of this squad, which is very likely, because let's be honest, a lot of managers can't get a tune out of this squad. Let's not forget, by the way, and I'm not willing to sit here and forget the fact that a lot of the players in this current squad are nowhere near good enough and shouldn't be anywhere near Everton Football Club. They shouldn't be nowhere near Everton Football Club. So I'm not willing to forget that, and whoever comes in, whichever manager comes in, as soon as the appointment's done, and I hope it's done soon, because I am really starting to start to get frustrated with all of the different names floating about. And 1 minute it's this manager who's on the brink of becoming Everton manager, and next minute it's on the another manager who's on the brink of becoming Everton manager. I'm really getting sick of it at the moment. But when a manager is announced, I'll be fully focused on hoping that the club can get rid of a lot of those players that shouldn't be here and bringing in players that deserve to be here and should be here. Again, and look, like I said, Rafa Benitez could be a success. He is a winner. He's proven that before, but I just don't know if he's a winner in this day and age, or if he was a winner 10, 15 years ago. And a lot has changed in football since then. The style of football for me isn't that great and isn't that exciting. And again, it is quite a defensive style, very similar to the style that a lot of Everton fans, bemoaned Carlo Ancelotti for playing. It's very similar to that. So again, I'm not too pleased about that either. But ultimately, look, we don't know. Listen, we at the moment, we don't know. We don't know if it's going to be Rafa Benitez. We don't know if it's going to be Nuno Espirito Santo. Another name has been thrown in the mix over the last couple of hours or so, which we'll talk about in a second. So, ultimately, we really don't know who it's going to be. From the news and the reports yesterday, it looks like Rafa Benitez is the number one now. Alex Kruk from TalkSport has said that, I'm told that if Rafa Benitez does become the new Everton manager, then Duncan Ferguson is said to be kept on as part of his backroom staff. That doesn't surprise me. I think Rafa Benitez would know better than to come into Everton Football Club already knowing the the discontent of a lot of Evertonians, and then sack Duncan Ferguson. I don't think he's that stupid. So if Rafa does come in, I fully expect Duncan Ferguson to remain at the football club, because I think Rafa will know that decision will at least keep certain Evertonians on board with him. Whereas if he was to just sack Duncan Ferguson, I think a lot of Evertonians would go against that. But yeah, like I said, what can we do? Realistically, what can we do? Whoever it is, whoever comes in is coming in. And like I said, I'm at the point now where I'd spent Saturday and Sunday mentally convincing myself that Nuno Espirito Santo was a decent manager and was a good enough manager to come in and do a job, and would be a good appointment for Everton, and would come in and would do well. And his first couple of seasons at Wolves were brilliant, and he got them playing nice football, and he got them in Europe, and I convinced myself that Nuno coming in would be fine and would be brilliant. And now I'm sitting here literally 4 days later convincing myself that, or trying to convince myself that, Rafa Benitez wouldn't be too bad of an appointment. I'm not going to sit here and lie or sit on the fence. I don't want Rafa Benitez as Everton manager. I don't. I'm personally not too interested about his Liverpool connection. If he was the right man for the job, I'd be able to put that aside. I'm not too interested about the things he said 11, 12 years ago. If he was the right man for the job, I could put that aside. But I fully understand the fans that are interested in that, and I haven't forgiven him for that, and I fully understand him, and I haven't forgiven him for that. But like I said, if he was going to come in and was guaranteed to do really well at Everton, then I think we'd all sort of say, we'll just push it to the side because he's going to come in and do brilliantly at Everton. But there's no guarantee of that. I'm more worried about the fact that I just don't think he's the right man for the job. And I think, again, it's sort of... It's a little bit like the Ancelotti appointment. And again, don't want to seem like a hypocrite because I was made up when Ancelotti was appointed and wanted Ancelotti to stay even 3 weeks ago before he decided to piss off. But a lot of the criticism of Ancelotti was that he was a manager that we shouldn't have been looking at that time. And I think, I think Rafa Benitez, or not that we shouldn't have been looking at that time, but a manager that had won a lot of trophies and had won a lot of silverware with massive clubs and big quality players. And there was always that question as to whether he A, had the motivation, and B, had the ability to come into an Everton and turn us into a fantastic side, turn us from a really poor, bang average, mediocre, mid-table Premier League side to a side challenging for titles and challenging in the Premier League. And ultimately he couldn't do that. He'd come in when we were a bang average, mid-table, mediocre side, and he left when we were a bang average, mediocre, mid-table side. And I worry that Rafa Benitez falls into that same category of, yes, he's won trophies however many years ago, yes, he's been a success, yes, he's a good tactician, but is he the right manager to get the most out of this current squad of players and to bring the right players into the football club and build a squad? Is Rafa Benitez going to come in, and is he going to be here in 3 or 4 years' time? Can he build Everton? Has he got the motivation to build Everton? If we were in November now, or December, and we were currently 12th in the Premier League, and Carlo Ancelotti had walked out and said, see you later, I'm going to manage Real Madrid, don't like yous anymore in a bit, and Everton were looking at Rafa Benitez, I'd have a bit more of an understanding, because I'd go, okay, we're bang in the middle of a season, we're not doing too well, we need a manager who's going to come in, who's a classic tactician, who's won trophies in the past, who knows what is needed to win in the Premier League and to pick up points in the Premier League. Okay, I slightly understand bringing Rafa Benitez in to stabilise Everton because we're in the middle of a season and there's got to be a quick turnover. I get that. But I just really thought that this was an opportunity for Everton, considering we're not in a season. The season's only just ended. The Euros is on. Pre-season doesn't start until, I think Everton are due back the first week of July, something along those lines. This was a perfect opportunity for Everton to go out and really look at bringing in a manager who was going to come in and be here for the next 4, 5, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. And I just don't think Rafa Benitez is that man for the job. I do want to go on and talk about the board in a moment, because I think we have to have a conversation about the board. I also want to talk about Lucien Favre, former Borussia Dortmund manager, who's popped up today, not with direct links to Everton before anyone gets excited, but he's been linked to Crystal Palace. And I think Everton should definitely be in that race. But look, ultimately for me on the Benitez stuff, again, like I said, I'm not going to go into the negatives and the positives too much, because we could be sitting here in an hour's time, we could be sitting here in a day's time, and Rafa Benitez's interest has cooled down and somebody else is on the brink of becoming Everton manager. So until Rafa Benitez is officially announced, that's when we'll sit down and we'll actually have a full in-depth conversation about what he could bring to Everton Football Club, because at the moment he's just a rumour. Yes, it seems like he's the number one target and he's more likely than anyone else at the moment, but like I said, Friday it seemed like Nuno Espirito Santo was more likely than anybody else, and I think Rafa Benitez was 33-1 on Friday, something like that. So if you'd had a couple of quid on that, your quid's in if he does come in. And if you've got a couple of quid on Nuno now and he comes in, then you probably quid's in, because I think he's about 10-1, something like that at the moment. Not that it means anything, but there you go. Anyway, I do want to go into talking about the board. I also want to go into talking about Lucien Favre, like I said, just then, because his name has cropped up today. Not with direct links to Everton, but certainly with direct links to a move to the Premier League, and a lot of Evertonians are saying, hang on, well, if he's being linked with a move to the Premier League, then why aren't Everton interested? Why aren't Everton in that conversation? If you're enjoying the stream, by the way, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. I really, really would appreciate that. Hit 4,400 subscribers last night, so a big, big thank you to everybody for subscribing. I really, really do appreciate it. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Trying to hit 5k before the start of the season. It's a massive, 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 massive task to get 500 subs in the space of a couple of months or so, but if we could, that would be absolutely unbelievable. Let's get into some of the comments then before we go any further. Like I said, if you're enjoying it, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. Everton News says, hi Cam, how are we? I'm not too bad, mate. Again, trying to keep the spirits up, trying to keep the positivity in a time where, let's be honest, we're all sort of just a little bit who knows what's happening, who knows what's going to happen, who knows what is happening, who knows what conversation. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, you know, in the Everton board meetings at the moment. I'd love to be sat in you know, the Liver buildings or the Goodison Park or wherever the Everton board are currently based. I'd love to be sat there and just listen to what's being said, because I would really love to know if these rumours are coming from Rafa Benitez leaving that interview room and going, I feel dead confident here, I think I'm going to get the job, I think I'm on the brink, I think I'm going to get offered the contract, and then phoning around his media friends and then them putting that out as a story, and really Everton are sitting in the room going, yeah, good presentation, done well, interviewed well, good candidate, but certainly not a decision made yet. We haven't made a decision. Because if we were told that, if we were told, right, okay, Everton have interviewed Rafa Benitez, they're happy with the interview, they think it went well, but they by no means have made a decision yet, I think we'd all still be very much a little bit, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, he's in the same boat as Nuno, then he's in the same boat as every other manager that's been interviewed that has impressed Everton. And I'm not saying that's the case, by the way, that mightn't be the case. It might fully be that Everton have fully decided on Rafa Benitez, and that's it. You know, he's going to become the new Everton manager, but again, until he's there, like I said, at Finch Farm or at Goodison Park with the scarf around his neck, that eventuality, and me saying, you know, again, it could be a case of him, that's the decision Everton have made, and it's going to be Rafa, or it could be a case of that they haven't made a decision yet and they've just been impressed with his interview. We don't know. We really, really don't know. All as we can take and talk about is the information we're being given by journalists, and that information currently is that Rafa Benitez is on the brink or the verge of becoming new Everton manager, and Paul Joyce, who come out and said that Rafa Benitez is expecting a contract offer from Everton Football Club after positive talks today. So there you go. Does that mean it's all done and dusted? Absolutely not. Does that mean he's likely to come in? Maybe, who knows, we'll have to wait and see. Please do share the stream as well if you're enjoying it. It only takes a second, and we'll get loads of other people getting involved and watching and getting involved in the live comments. It would mean a great deal to me as well. And if you're new, obviously don't forget to hit that like button. Everton News says, what manager do you think Everton will get? Do you think it'll be Marco Silva? I hope not. It won't be Marco Silva, mate. No, I don't think any of us could cope if it was Marco Silva, to be honest with you, mate. And I certainly hope it's not Marco Silva, but it won't be. Who do I think we'll get? Like I said, if you were to ask me on Friday, I'd have said Nuno Espirito Santo. If you ask me today, I'd say Rafa Benitez, because that's where the ships, you know, the waves are taking the ship at the moment. And I don't know who's sailing the ship. I don't know whether Farhad Moshiri has just made Marcel Brands walk off the plank because he wasn't sailing it properly. I don't know whether Farhad Moshiri has said to Marcel Brands, you're not getting the chance to sail it, and he's sitting there with his hat on going, oh, I want to sail this ship. But ultimately, this current Everton ship is like that at the moment. It's waving, it's bouncing from tide to tide, wave to wave, and currently we're at Rafa Benitez, but tomorrow we might be at somebody else. And ultimately, we don't know what's going on, do we? We don't know who it's going to be. Eugene says 3 not out. If Rafa gets the Everton manager job, Everton will go backwards instead of forwards. Fair point. Everton News says, Cam, how many videos are you doing today till I watch then thanks. We'll wait and see, mate. At the moment, I'll be doing this live stream, and if anything else breaks a little bit later on today, then we'll do another stream or we'll do another video. But we'll wait and see. You know, we might have absolutely no information today whatsoever, other than what we're talking about today. And if that's the case, then like I said, we'll wait and see on that. Celtic Babe says, remember, Cam, Jim White has Machiri's number. Exactly. And like I said, when Jim White come out and said that last night, that Everton are on the brink of bringing in Rafa Benitez, and specifically when he said, I'm told, it really did ring in my ear that he's probably being told by Farhad Mashiri, or it seems like he's being told by Farhad Mashiri because he's close friends with Farhad Mashiri. He's got a relationship with Farhad Mashiri. So when Jim White's coming out saying, I'm told Everton are on the brink of bringing in Rafa Benitez, that puts that impression in all of our minds that Farhad Mashiri has told Everton on the brink of appointing Rafa Benitez. Now that could be taken very literally, and we'll see if it's taken very literally, if Rafa Benitez becomes the new Everton manager, and then we'll be able to sit back and go, okay, Mashiri told Jim White that we were on the brink of bringing in Benitez, because we were. But if Everton don't bring in Benitez, maybe Farhad Mashiri said, right, I'm going to give me mate Jim a call. Hello, Jim. I'm going to tell him that we're on the brink of signing Rafa Benitez, when in reality, we haven't made the decision, or Rafa Benitez is to be under consideration, but we want to hear what the fans have to say about it first. So we're going to tell them that it's near enough done. We'll see the reaction, and then we'll make a decision based off of that. Again, we don't know. If Rafa Benitez gets announced as new Everton manager tonight or tomorrow or on Saturday, then we'll know, okay, you know, the information that we heard on Wednesday night was true. But we'll wait and see, won't we? Motta says, what choice do we have as fans? None. If the Rafa things does go wrong, Mashiri will truly discover how toxic the sport has been. My worry for Farhad Mashiri, and like I said, we'll talk about the board in a moment. If you're enjoying, leave a like, by the way, subscribe if you're new. My worry for Farhad Mashiri is that if this goes wrong, and if the Rafa Benitez stuff does go wrong, then I think a lot of fans will turn on Farhad Mashiri. But look, we don't, like I said, we don't know the full extent of the situation. It seems, and a lot of Evertonians are making this situation in their mind, that Marcel Brands is basically being told that no one's asked about what he's got to say, and it doesn't matter what he has to say, and it's Farhad Mashiri going, bang, I want Rafa Benitez, there you go, and that's my decision. We don't know that Marcel Brands hasn't sat in an interview room with Farhad Mashiri, with Bill Kenwright, and with Rafa Benitez, and Rafa Benitez has walked out and Marcel Brands has gone, that's the man we want to bring in, that's the man I think can come in and do the best job for Everton. Then that's Marcel Brands' decision. It could also be that Marcel Brands has gone, no, I'm not really into him, and Mashiri's gone, don't care, I am, so we're bringing him in. We just don't know at the moment, and that's what happens, like I said, when there's a lack of communication from the club, when there's a lack of Everton coming out, and Everton could have come out a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even a week ago on Friday, sat Marcel Brands in front of a camera and said, right, okay, you're going to explain your role in the appointment of a new manager. Don't go into names, don't go into details, but just say, we were shocked by the sudden exit of Carlo Ancelotti. I, as the director of football, is going to sit down now, go through all of the names, go through the list, and I am going to make the decision on who becomes the next Everton manager. Now, if that was said, if that was the case and it was said, then we'd all be sitting here going, well, if it's Benitez, it's Brands' choice, because Brands come out last week and told us that he's to be choosing the manager. And that might be the case, it mightn't be the case, but the fact that there's no communication from the club whatsoever. Look at Tottenham. Tottenham have just had Daniel Levy come out and done an interview, basically saying, this is the process, this is where we currently are with the process, this is where we want to be in the future. Didn't name any names, refused to say any names. He said it's not about the names that are on the list, it's just about this is the way we're doing it, and this is the way we've formulated the list. And Tottenham fans sort of went, yeah, okay, he's come out and he's given us a little bit of an explanation. We're now more the wiser. We're now wiser as to what's going on at the football club, what the process is, where we currently are with the process. Everton don't do any of that. Everton don't do any of that whatsoever. It's just pure utter silence, which leads to pure speculation, and it just doesn't feed very well, does it? It doesn't feed very well whatsoever. Frankie says that's why we got battered at City. Carlo wasn't bothered. Nico says I still have faith in Mashiri, but can see why some are losing their patience with him. Listen, if it's Mashiri's choice, and Brands has wanted another name, then yeah, fair enough. But Marcel Brands, we don't know, and a lot of people were saying this on Twitter, we don't know that Marcel Brands hasn't sat in that interviewing room with Rafa Benitez and gone, that was brilliant, that I'm happy with that, I'm happy with his vision, I'm happy with what he's going to do, I'm happy with how he's going to work with me, I want him to come in, and Mercedes gone, okay, I'll feed that information out and we'll get a contract sorted. We just don't know, and that's a part of the problem with the Everton board at the moment, is we don't know who's responsible for what, who's doing what, what's going on, who's got a clue. There was a rumour today saying that the Everton board have been split with the potential decision to bring in Rafa Benitez, and that it could even see some members of the board leaving. Now again, that might just be a nonsense rumour on the internet, probably is, but we really don't know what's going on. I'd absolutely love to see the meeting minutes of a board meeting at Everton Football Club. I would love it, just to see what they discuss, because at the moment, the way I see it, it just seems like there's no plan, there's no organisation, there's no contingency plans, there's no fallback option, there's no plan B, there's no plan C. It seems like those meetings go on where Everton sit, all of the board members, the 4 board members or whatever it is, sit round the table in the Lava buildings, sit down and go, right, okay, meeting starts now. And Brands might go, the hell nice weather outside, isn't it? Look at that there. Has that building always been there? And then Bill Kenwright spends 45 minutes talking about the history of Liverpool City Centre. Then Farhad Mashiri goes, might have steak for me tea today. Then Sasha, I can't say his last name. Sasha goes, no, you can't afford that, Farhad, because the finances don't allow that. And then Marcel Brands goes, should probably talk about a manager, lads. And Kenwright goes, yeah, but did you see that new time programme on the telly with Stephen Graham? That was boss that. I'd just love to see the meetings, because at the moment there doesn't seem to be any plan, there doesn't seem to be any organisation, there doesn't seem to be any structure, any contingency plan, any sort of roadmap as to state, right, this is where we are now, this is where we want to be, and this is how we're going to get there. It very much seems with Everton at the moment that this is where we are, this is where we want to be, and we can't be arsed putting in the plans in place to get there, so we're just going to try and jump. And if you jump, more often than not, you're not going to get to where you want to be, and you're going to fall drastically, or you might get there, but then you'll only stay there for a season or two, you'll only get in Europe for a season or two, or you'll only battle for a season, and then it'll all fall down because there's no foundations, there's no foundation layer. You've built that progress on nothing but a hope, and a hope without a plan is purely a dream. That's all it is. A hope without a plan is purely a wish. That's it. And I just feel like that's where Everton are at the moment. They know where they want to be, they know where they are, but they haven't got an absolute jar of glue of how to get there and what to put in place to get there, and how to utilise Marcel Brands as a Farhad Mashiri, as a director of football, how to utilise Farhad Mashiri as an owner, how to utilise the right manager to come in, the right players to come in. And this is a big issue that Everton have currently got at the moment in the board. A big issue that Everton have currently got is it just feels like nobody really has a clue. And maybe they do, maybe I'm completely wrong, maybe the Everton board are sat in the Lava buildings watching this now, laughing at me, going, if only Cam knew what plans we've got in place, if only Cam knew what we've got set out, if only he knew that it's not Rafa Benitez, it's going to be Lucien Favre, it's going to be Christophe Galtier, which it might be, who knows. But they might be saying that, but not coming out and giving us anything as fans. Why is Farhad Mashiri going to Jim White? Why is, if it is Farhad Mashiri, and we don't know whether it is or not, pure speculation, but if it's Farhad Mashiri that's gone to Jim White and said Everton on the brink of appointing Rafa Benitez, why is Farhad Mashiri going to Jim White to gauge the thoughts of fans? Why isn't he coming out, sat in front of a camera and going, I'm majority shareholder Farhad, or I'm Everton owner Farhad Mashiri. I've been impressed with all of the interviews so far. At the moment, this fella's leading the race. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. There's a survey or something in the comments. Why not do that? Why are you going to Jim White and saying, lash the bait out there and see what people say? Why not come through Everton's official social media accounts? Or why not message me and say, Cam, can we get Marcel Brands on the channel and you ask him these set questions, and just to get the word out? Because I guarantee if I have Marcel Brands sat next to me on this video now explaining the process and explaining what Everton do and what Everton are trying to do, a lot of people in the comments would go, do you know what? We can see where this is going. We've heard from the man himself that this is what Everton, this is the plan, this is where this... Because as far as we know, Marcel Brands only talks to people in the Netherlands or in train stations. That's all we know at the moment. And it's absolutely shocking. Why not come out on fan channels, mine, the Mighty Blues, Toffee TV, the Toffee Blues, any other Everton fan channel, and come out and say, and talk to fans directly and say, this is what we want to do, this is where we want to be, this is how we're going to get there, this is the manager process. I'm not saying Marcel Brands to come on and say, yeah, it's Benitez, or yeah, it's Nuno, or yeah, it's Mr. Bean, or yeah, it's Lucien Favre. Just come on and say, I'm not saying names, but this is the process, this is how we decide. We're all, me and Bill and Farhad are sat in a meeting and we interview these candidates and we all decide collectively who is impressed and who hasn't impressed, and we all have an equal say. Because if that's the case, come out and say it. Because not coming out and saying that, and not coming out and letting us know that that's the case, leads us all to think that there's no organisation, there's no plan, that Marcel Brands' decision of being completely overridden, that Farhad Moshiri's taking it and doing whatever he wants. It leads to all of this speculation. And this is what we don't need as a football club at the moment. We don't need that speculation. And look, the board, I've got issues with the board from left, right and centre. I really have. I've got massive issues with how Ancelotti left, and I'll speak about them in a moment. But there's just no communication. There just doesn't seem to be a plan. There doesn't seem to be a roadmap. There doesn't seem to be a, like I said, we're here. We want to get to here, and this is how we're going to get there. We're going to go to there. We're going to play that style of football with this style of manager. We're going to bring in that type of players. We're going to allow those players to come in, impress, and if they leave because they've improved us, boss, but we're going to bring this player in to replace them. It just seems like we're here, we want to be there, we don't have a bloody clue how to get there, so we're just going to jump and hope we get there by hope. And the last 3 seasons we've done that, we've finished bang mid-table mediocre, and it's not good enough for Everton Football Club. Anyway, let me get back in the comments before we go on to talk a little bit more. I do want to touch a little bit more on the board and the Ancelotti situation, because it sort of does feed into the same conversation. But we'll get back in the comments. If you're enjoying, by the way, leave a like. Only takes a second. I also want to talk about, like I said, former Borussia Dortmund manager Lucien Favre, who hasn't been linked with Everton today, but has been linked with other clubs, or another Premier League club that, again, are looking for a manager. No guesses for who that is. Adams, he says, it can't be Rafa, it just can't be. I won't let it be true. Jason says, hi Cam, what's happening, Jason? Reece says, I'll be Rafa out from the first game. Listen, whoever it is, I said it yesterday on the video, I'll get behind whoever it is, because I'm an Evertonian and I'll always go and watch Everton and I'll always go to Goodison Park, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'll stop going to Goodison Park, because I won't. I'll always be there. I haven't been there in 18 months, so I'll be there the first chance I get. Just a little bit of news on it is that Neville Southall has been told to TalkSport. He was asked, is Rafa right for Everton? He said, no, he's Liverpool, and Everton fans won't accept it. Why not give it to Duncan Ferguson? That's what former Everton goalkeeper and Everton legend, by the way, Neville Southall has said about the situation. A lot of other ex-Everton players, Andy Gray coming out yesterday and having quite a strong opinion and a strong feelings on the rumours and his feelings towards Rafa Benitez coming and becoming the new Everton manager, which was also very, very interesting as well. But yeah, look, again, and this is the point, I might, there'll be a lot of fans that go, just get behind them, just see what happens, but there'll also be a lot of fans that say, right, well, if he loses the 2 games on the bounce, we're all turning, and that's just not what we need at the moment. We don't need that, and I know we should say, yeah, we'll put that behind because he's a brilliant tactician who's going to come in and drastically improve Everton, but is he? Where's the evidence that he's going to come in and drastically improve Everton because he done really well 15 years ago or 10 years ago? Done alright at Newcastle, but Everton aren't battling for relegation. Everton don't want to be mid-table mediocre. Everton want to be challenging for European qualification. Or maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe we are over expecting what we should of Everton at the moment. Maybe Everton just want to get stabilised. I don't know what Everton wants. Again, a big problem with the board. What do Everton want? Where do we want to be? We can sit here all the way long and say they're here and they know they want to be there, but where's the end game? Where's the end goal? Were Everton happy with Carlo Ancelotti's 10th place Premier League season last season? Yes, they were, probably. So why? Why were they? Because that's not good enough for Everton. That's not good enough for me as an Evertonian. Jason says, don't feel I can give this video a thumbs up, just feel distressed. I apologise about that, Jason, but I hope you can give it a thumbs up, because the likes really mean a lot to me. And I get that some people might dislike because they don't want Rafa Benitez, or they might dislike because they're unhappy with Everton. But disliking one of our videos, or a Toffee TV video, or a Toffee Blues video, or a Blue Boys Network video, or an Everton Rose video, or anybody else, Kieran Rant's video, it doesn't go to Everton. Everton don't look at the dislikes on Everton fan channels and go, people aren't happy here. It just sort of, it goes against the creator. So if you could hit that like button, it would mean a great deal to me. It doesn't mean you like the idea of Rafa Benitez. It just means that you're enjoying the stream and the discussions. It would be really appreciative. If you don't like the stream, then that's fine. If you're enjoying as well and you're new, don't forget to subscribe. It does only take a second. Where are we then in the comments before we get into talking about Lucy and Favre then, because he's a name that has been thrown about. And yeah, Adam, he says he can't unite the fans. The first thing that goes wrong, he'll face the full wrath of supporters, won't get a fair shot. Fair enough. Forgotten Where the Movie says, morning Cam, how are you, mate? I'm not too bad, mate. How are you doing? Listen, I'm alright. Listen, whoever it'll be will be. I'm just bored of the whole merry-go-round now. I'm bored of 1 minute it being one name and another minute it being another name and another minute it being another name. Just get somebody in, and then we can all have a day or so to digest it, to decide whether we like the appointment or we don't, and then we can start going, do you know what? They're in now. They're done. They're here. We can't do nothing about it. Let's go and focus on drastically improving this squad, because it's not good enough. Mark says, morning Cam, I can't keep up with all of this. Doesn't help how silent the club is with the shambles. I've just said it, mate. The club could have come out a week ago and just said, this is the process. We're not gonna rush the process. There's various names on it. We'll decide who is the best name for the job, and then we'll make that decision. That decision will be made by Marcel Brands as the director of football, by Farhad Moshiri as the owner, by Bill Kemp, or whoever it is, and just come out and give us something, talk to us, give us an update, let us know what's going on. Because if you don't read the news, if you don't listen to journalists, if you don't read the Liverpool Echo or the Telegraph or the Guardian, and you don't want to listen to Dominic King or Paul Joyce or Jim White, if you are an Everton fan that only takes what's coming out of Everton as the truth, you're probably sitting there now going, we literally lost our manager 15-16 days ago. He walked out on us and we've heard nothing since. Even when Marco Silva was sacked in December 2019, we had a couple of days where we didn't hear anything, and then Everton released a statement saying we're still in an extensive search for the new manager. We're this situation is taking its time. We're not going to rush it. Duncan Ferguson's going to take over for the next couple of games or so whilst we continue that search. And everyone went, okay, Duncan's the interim. We'll get behind Duncan, and that's where the club are currently at. They're looking at other options. They're looking at other names. Why come out 2 days later and say it in 2019, but 15 days later not come out and say a thing? Would it harm Everton to come out and put out a statement to say, this is the current situation, this is where we're at? Even if it's just to squash a lot of the speculation we're reading in the media, would it harm Marcel Brands to sit in front of a camera and talk for 3, 4, 5 minutes about what's going on, what the current situation is at the football club? It'd make us all feel a lot better, because we'd all sit back and go, do you know what? Yeah, that's what's going on. This is the situation. It's not being rushed. Let's wait and see who it is first. At least we've heard from the football club. But no, we don't hear anything from the football club. We don't hear it. We don't hear a thing, do we? It's just pure silence, and silence creates speculation. It is. The Inside says biggest waste of a football fan's time is watching, reading transfer gossip, go out in the sun and don't bother. Well, I suppose watching is sort of us. So I disagree. But if the sun's out, get out in the sun. Watch us in the sun. Not you know what I mean. In the sunshine, I should say. Not that other scum. Chris says, if we get Rafa, at what point do we start calling for Moshiri to go? Probably if he fails, mate. I think there'll be a lot of Evertonians that call for that if he fails. Listen, Farhad Moshiri's done a brilliant job at Everton in terms of the money he's brought in and the stadium project. It wouldn't be a thing without Farhad Moshiri, and we can assume as fans that Farhad Moshiri is having too much of a say on the managerial appointment. But we don't know. We don't know whether Marcel Brands has gone, yet you know what? He's the right man for the job. Adam, she says Moshiri will use Milovs in some way. Wayne says if Rafa gets the job, us Blues have got to back him, not fight him. If he gets the job, that's the decision the club have made, mate. And I'm not saying we've got to back him, because Evertonians are entitled to their own opinion. If you don't want to go to the game, if you don't want to support Everton, if you don't want to support Rafa Benitez, that's fine. I will be, because I'm an Evertonian and I'll always be going the game. Neil Sadler says, hi Cam, before Rafa joins us, check out my 35-second Everton FC YouTube video. Thanks, kidder. I'll have a look at it later, mate. Samyuk says, as the Galtier link's broken, We don't know. Jack the Lad says, maybe the board knows we don't have to rush it. Last year, the Euros wasn't on. When we needed a new manager, we're waiting for Martinez. I hope not, mate. Nico says, exactly, Wayne. Dan says, stop the hate for Machiri, FFS. I don't hate Machiri. I think there'll be a lot of Evertonians that's opinions on Farhad Machiri change now because of the manager, because of the last couple of days or so. But look, again, it mightn't be Machiri's decision. It might be Brands' decision. And this is all part of the sounds from the club. We don't know. Evertonian Lou says, don't want Rafa, but he is in the like for the bracket of Carlo, as in the sense of a successful manager to carry on the project. We might just have to see how it plans out if he's brought in. Well, we do have to see how it plans out, don't we? Pterodactyl says, we needed to ask Machiri to leave a few years ago, but leave his wallet. Mike says, yeah, Cam, the sounds is deafening. There you go. Eugen says, shock, James Rodriguez claim. Not sure about that one. Short Objective Mail says, if anything goes T-Ice up from now on, then the finger needs to be pointed at the board, not the manager. Board have gotten away with murder. I'd agree, mate. Dan says it's not Machiri's fault. Managers have let him down. Yeah, fair point. But whoever's appointing the managers is constantly appointing the wrong manager for the job, with the exception of Carlo Ancelotti, who I've got no issue with the board for. There you go. Matthew says, if Rafa plays similar football to Ancelotti last season, Zed will be on a spike outside the goals. And that's my biggest issue. Forget his Liverpool connection. Forget what he said 15 years ago. Is the football that he plays is very defensive and very similar to Carlo Ancelotti's. And that wasn't accepted, by a lot of Evertonians, because it was Carlo Ancelotti, 3-time Champions League winning manager, one of the most successful managers, ever in football. Is it going to be accepted for former Liverpool manager Rafa Benitez to come out and play that type of football? I really don't know. Neil Satter says, thanks, Cam, appreciated. No worries, mate. Ed says, Rafa will get some backing. Fans gave Big Sam. Fruin says, Matheus Nunes. Yeah, a couple of rumours today that Matheus Nunes looks like he could be signing for Everton. Apparently a deal has been agreed with Sport, and hang on, let me get the latest up on that one so we're not misreading information. Bear with me 2 seconds. The latest on that is, according to Sport Witness, or a bowler via Sport Witness, Everton and Sport have reached an agreement over the transfer of midfielder Matheus Nunes. The transfer is said to be imminent and Nunes could travel for his medical soon. The fee is said to be 18 million with 2 million in bonuses. So there you go. Anyway, on the Lucien Favre stuff, before we move on, there's rumours today that Crystal Palace were interested or were talking to Lucien Favre to become the new Palace manager. Ed Aarons of The Guardian has come out and said that he is told that there is an interest in Lucien Favre from more than one Premier League club, including Crystal Palace. So, again, there's not many Premier League clubs looking for a manager. I think Everton are the only other Premier League club looking for a manager. Now, maybe there's interest from clubs currently with a manager that are looking to upgrade and bring in Lucien Favre. I don't know, but I would like to hope that one of those clubs interested in Lucien Favre is Everton. He is known for building a team. He is known for taking mid-table sides and sides that are just hovering around the mid-table areas to success and building a team and building a squad. He is 63 years old, and I'm not an ageist by any sense of the imagination, but I know some fans are put off by his age and his commitment at that age. But look, I would love Lucien Favre at Everton. I'd much prefer Lucien Favre than Rafa Benitez. And I think Lucien Favre would unite the fans and would get the fans all thinking on the same page and all working off of the same hymn sheet and all going in the same direction. And I would love if it was Lucien Favre. Again, there's been no direct link with Everton whatsoever. Chris says James Rodriguez has an option to return to Real Madrid for free this summer, which is part of his initial agreement. Ancelotti and Perez both want him back. Not too sure about, don't know where that's come from, mate. But ultimately, James Rodriguez come out the other day on Instagram Live and said that he doesn't think he'll return to Real Madrid, so who knows. But yeah, I would prefer Lucien Favre to come in than any of the other names, if I'm being honest with you, not just Rafa Benitez, than any of the other names, which would ultimately, I think, again, would be able to progress Everton. Lucien Favre would be able to progress Everton. He's a manager that has proven that in the past. Now, whether he does or not, we don't know. Whether he's even in the conversation or not, we don't know. It just says that there's another Premier League club other than Crystal Palace that are interested in Lucien Favre. Maybe that is Everton, maybe it isn't Everton. I would like to hope it is Everton because, again, he's definitely a name that Everton should be looking at. But maybe now Everton should be looking and going, actually, let's bring Lucien Favre in for an interview. Let's see what he's about. Let's see what he could bring to the football club. If you're enjoying, by the way, hit that like button. Only takes a second. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. There you go. The James stuff is coming from Colombian journalist Javier Hernandez Bonnet via Sport Witness, who says James has apparently an option to return to Real Madrid for free this summer, which is part of an agreement with Everton. Ancelotti and Florentino Perez are said to be interested. Again, we'll wait and see how that one pans out. I'm not going to lie, I'm not really that bothered, to be honest with you. I'm not really that bothered. If he leaves, he leaves. I'd like him to stay, and he literally said last week, or earlier on this week, that he's interested in, that he wants to, he said that he doesn't think he'll return to Real Madrid, and if he stays at Everton, then that's fine by him. So I'm not too sure that is true, but again, there you go. Mike says, give it to Duncan FFS. There's a good coach on offer out there. We've talked about it enough, but don't give it to Rafa FFS. Give it to Dunk. Indy Callier says, Everton are speaking to Lucien Favre. Wouldn't believe a word that fella says, to be honest with you. Neil Santa says, Cam is a class act. Thumbs up, lids. If he could hit the like, it would mean a great deal to me. Let's talk about the board again for a moment before we finish up. Again, we don't know if it's going to be Rafa Benitez or not, but all I can say is this is the information that was being fed by the media. It may be true. It might. I dare say it's true in terms of that. That's the information they've been given, and that's the information they're putting out. But we don't know if that's where Everton are. We don't know if Everton have decided on Marcel Brands. We don't know Marcel Brands on Rafa Benitez. We don't know who has decided on Rafa Benitez. Whether it's Brands, whether it's Machiri, whether it's Kenwright. We really don't know at the moment. And what I would say is let's just wait and see who comes in. And then we can have the discussions then. If Rafa Benitez comes in, we'll sit down, we'll do a live stream, and we'll talk about the positives and we'll talk about the negatives, and we'll know at least then that it is Benitez, and we can actually get into the nitty-gritty of talking about him as a manager. But again, like I said, I was fully expecting this week to have done 2, 3, 4 streams on Nuno Espirito Santo and why he's going to improve Everton and how he could be a success, because on Friday night we were told that it was on the brink of becoming the new Everton manager. Yet he's still not the Everton manager, and it doesn't look like he is going to be either. In regards to what I wanted to say before about the Everton board, I've had a strong opinion about this, and I've said it a couple of times on Toffee TV over the last few days or so. Everton put a clause in Carlo Ancelotti's contract in November 2019, or December 2019, sorry, when he signed for Everton, and that clause read that Carlo Ancelotti could leave Everton Football Club with no issue whatsoever if a certain club, or any of a certain clubs, and which we still don't know who they are, come in for him. Now, obviously, Real Madrid was one of those clubs because he left Everton with no issue whatsoever. But my big issue with that, I've got an issue with that clause. I've said it before on the channel. I've got a massive issue with that clause. Why put it in the contract in the first place? Why are we putting clauses in contracts as to state that managers can just get off when they want if a certain club comes in for them? I don't agree with it. But my biggest issue about that situation is that if Everton were prepared to put that clause in his contract, and Devil's Advocate might say, okay, Everton had to put that clause in his contract because otherwise he wouldn't have been an Everton manager, and that's fine. That's fine. But this is another sort of thing that just makes me think that the Everton board just really aren't doing the job properly and aren't doing what they should be doing. Apparently, Sky Sports journalist Keith Downey believes Rafa Benitez could be Everton manager by the end of today. I haven't read that yet, but we'll wait and see on that one. But if the Everton board are prepared to put that clause in a contract, then they should have absolutely, for every single day that Carlo Ancelotti was in charge at Everton, from the moment he signed that contract to the days he was saying he wants to stay forever and he loves us, to the days we were losing, stupid games, to when we beat Liverpool in the Merseyside derby, every single day Carlo Ancelotti was employed by Everton, there should have been a list of 5 managers as a contingency plan that could come in to replace Carlo Ancelotti. Why are the Everton board putting a clause in a contract as to state that a manager can leave whenever he wants if a certain club comes in for him without no hassle whatsoever, and then not having a contingency plan and a list of managers that could come in and replace that manager if that eventuality is to happen? Everton should have been looking every day going, right, okay, things are going well, Carlo's going well, he loves it here, he's given us all his promises whatsoever that he wants to stay, and he wants to stay forever and ever, but let's not forget that there is this clause in the contract that could be triggered at any time. So we're still going to keep our, options open, and we're still going to have a list of 4, 5, 6 managers who could potentially come in and replace him if Carlo does leave. Because if that happened, if the board had that plan, if the board had that bit of organisation, if they actually had the knowledge to go, do you know what, we should probably prepare for if this clause is triggered, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Now, those 4 or 5 names could have changed constantly. You could have had 5 names 1 week, and then 2 weeks later, it might have been a different 5 names. But we always should have had a list of managers that could potentially come in and replace Carlo Ancelotti, knowing full well that there's a clause in that contract that could have been triggered. And oh look, it was triggered, he's gone, and we're sitting here 2 weeks later with not a clue who's going to come in, and it very much seems like the board haven't got a clue either, because all of the managers we're being linked with play different football, have different styles, have different ways of playing, different tactics, different ways of bringing in managers, different ways of doing players, different ways of doing this, that and the other. It's not like we're being linked with 6 managers and they've all got things in common. They've not got anything in common whatsoever. Nothing in common whatsoever. And it's clear that that contingency plan wasn't put in place. And that's the basic level of business. Basic level of business. If I was bringing on another presenter to this channel and I last in a contract that he could go to any other channel with no issue if he wanted to, then I'd always have in the back of my mind, right, okay, I'm looking for the next presenter, I'm looking for the next person to come in case this fella gets off. Look what happened. Carlo Ancelotti got off, and we're now going, oh, we didn't think that had happened, we didn't prepare for that to happen. That's fine, because nobody prepared for that to happen, nobody thought that was going to happen. But you've put a clause in his contract that's allowed him to leave with no issue whatsoever because a certain club come in for him. Now, if that clause is in there, you should have been absolutely prepared at all times for the eventuality that he may go, and we weren't prepared. And it's basic failure of business, that basic failure, and it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. And maybe the club did have that list, I don't know, but what it seems at the moment like they didn't, and I don't think they did, because if they did, then I don't think we'd still be sitting here talking about a manager merry-go-round, if I'm being honest with you. I think we'd have a manager in. Joshua says the issue here is we don't have leadership, and that's transparent. Why are they not? This is the People's Club. Pterodactyl says all managers ends up the same, disappointing football. And Animate says, yeah, the James Rodriguez stuff, we've just read it down. Listen, it's coming from a Colombian journalist, so maybe it is true, maybe it's not, we don't know. Nico says, just get us a manager by July. Joshua says, Galtier is my first choice, my number 1 for weeks. The Manx Sports Guru says, Galtier or Big Dunk. If you're enjoying, by the way, and you're new to the channel, I can see a few new names, please do hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second. If you're enjoying, leave a like as well. We will be back tomorrow with another live stream early on in the morning, giving more information regarding this, and also if anything breaks later today, if any news breaks, we'll be back discussing that as well. Wayne says, Cam, I totally agree with you. It looks like the board are just after a quick fix but no clue about building for the future. Yeah, that's how it seems at the moment. Joshua says, agreed, Cam. Do we really not think that United City and others would have backup plans in place that their managers leave? Of course they do. Exactly. Of course they do. Pterodactyl says phenomenal. Mike says, I'm still for Galtier though. He's bound for Nice. Next, it's Nuno for me. Then it's a long list being propped up by Rafa. Yeah, there you go. Craig says, it's getting to the point now where I'd honestly probably just take Roberto back. At least we know where his heart lays. I wouldn't, but there you go. Dave says they're both the clueless with a joke of a club. Dylan says maybe Rafa works out regardless of manager. Maybe they need to smash this summer transfer window, and it won't matter who manages the team. Yeah, well, we do need to smash this window, don't we? Because the players aren't good enough. A lot of the players aren't good enough. And Brother says this could be the Zaha signing a few years back. Media adamant he was joining. Could be like that. Maybe. Well, we'll wait and see. Like I said, look, everything I'm saying and all of my opinions come from the mere silence. The board might have had contingency plans for if Carlo could have left, but we haven't heard about that. We haven't been told that from Everton, and we certainly hasn't been proved because we're 2 weeks down the line and it doesn't seem like anyone's got a clue. Rafa Benitez might be on the verge of becoming the next Everton manager. He mightn't be. We don't know. We'll just wait and see. Well, he might be on the verge, but that doesn't mean that he's definitely going to become the next Everton manager. But as it stands at the moment, according to various journalists, Jim White, Sky Sports, The Telegraph, The Guardian, Paul Joyce, Rafa Benitez is certainly the front runner. Even the Echo, Rafa Benitez is certainly the front runner on the Everton job and could be closing in on becoming the new Everton manager. Lucien Favre apparently is in talks with Crystal Palace, and according to Ed Aarons, there is a couple of there is other Premier League clubs interested in Lucien Favre that aren't Crystal Palace. Whether one of those is Everton, we don't know, but let's wait and see. Anyway, look, we're going to finish it up there then. Big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this stream, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. Really would appreciate that. Like I said, any news breaks later, we'll be back with it, talking about it, discussing it, whether it be about Rafa Benitez, whether it be about anybody else. We'll be back discussing that news live. If you have enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. If you've been in the live comments, really do appreciate it. Honestly, it means a massive amount to me. Sorry we couldn't get through all the comments. I had to get through as many of them as possible. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we'll get involved with as many of them as we possibly can as well. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow morning. If there's no news later today, we'll be back tomorrow morning with another live stream. And yeah, we'll be getting further into this manager merry-go-round. Hopefully it ends soon, and hopefully we can just employ a manager and we can get on with it and start looking at bringing in some players, because that's what we need to do, isn't it, effectively, because we all know this squad isn't good enough. But big thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this one, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. It does only take a second. And if you're watching the YouTube video, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Nice one for watching, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.